My stepson looked me dead in the eyes, his voice dripping with teenage scorn, and said, "You're not my family, Tom. Stop acting like you are." I stood there, the campfire crackling behind me, my hands still gripping the tent poles I'd spent hours setting up for him. I didn't shout, didn't lose it. I just gave him a long, hard look, nodded, and said, "Fine, Ethan. Have it your way." That was the moment I knew I was done. My name's Tom, 46. A mechanic who spent 2 decades wrenching on engines in a small garage in upstate New York. It's not a job that gets you a corner office or a fat retirement plan, but it's real. You fix what's broken, and when you're done, it runs. I like that kind of clarity. By 28, I'd saved enough to buy a fixer-upper split level in a quiet town outside Syracuse. No mortgage, just a stack of bills paid with sweat and overtime. My buddy Jake and I turned a side hustle into a steady business, rebuilding transmissions and restoring old Fords for guys who loved their trucks more than their wives. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine, and it gave me a life I was proud of. I met Sarah at 35, at a Memorial Day barbecue thrown by a mutual friend. She was 32, a single mom with a 9-year-old son, Ethan, and a divorce that left her raw. Her ex, Derek, was a deadbeat who'd bailed when Ethan was 4, sending a Christmas card with a $20 bill every few years, like that made up for disappearing. Sarah was scraping by, working as a receptionist at a dental office, driving a beat-up Chevy Malibu that rattled like it was on its last legs. Ethan was the skinny kid with messy brown hair, clutching a beat-up Spider-Man action figure, eyeing me like I was an intruder. Sarah knelt beside him, her voice gentle but firm. "Ethan, this is Tom. Say hi." He just stared, gripping that toy like it was his shield, and shook his head. We started dating, slow at first. Sarah was cautious, and I didn't push. 6 months in, something shifted. Sarah got stuck working late, and Ethan's school called Mem because she'd listed me as his emergency contact. He'd fallen off the monkey bars, scraped his knee bad, blood soaking his jeans. I dropped my wrench, still in my grease-stained coveralls, and sped to the school. Found him in the nurse's office, tears streaking his face, trying to act tough. "Hey, kid," I said, crouching down. "Looks like Spider-Man took a hit. You okay?" He sniffled, managed a nod, and let me clean him up. I drove him home, got him settled with a Band-Aid and a glass of milk. As I tucked him in, he grabbed my hand, his voice small. "Thanks, Tom." That moment hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just a kid saying thanks, it was trust. Sarah and I got serious after that. When Ethan was 10, he started calling me Dad. Not all the time, just in quiet moments when I helped him with math homework or tossed a football in the backyard. Every time he said it, my chest tightened, like I'd been handed something fragile and precious. Sarah and I married when Ethan was 11. He was our best man, strutting down the aisle in a tiny suit, grinning like he'd won the lottery. "This is my family now," he said at the reception, holding up his juice glass for a toast. The room cheered, and I believed it. I hadn't planned on kids, but Ethan was mine. I chose him. Those early years were good, better than good. Saturday mornings were our thing. Just me and Ethan at a diner, him drowning his pancakes in syrup while I sipped coffee, and we planned our day. "Dad, can we build a birdhouse?" he'd ask, eyes bright. We'd spend hours in the garage, sawdust everywhere, building lopsided projects that he'd show off like they were masterpieces. I started a college fund when he was 12, socking away every extra dollar. By the time he was 15, it was at $18,000. My buddies at the garage called me a saint for raising another man's kid, but I hated that. Ethan wasn't another man's kid. He was my son. Then high school hit, and the kid I knew started slipping away. It started small grunts instead of answers, slamming his bedroom door, spending hours on his phone. I told myself it was normal, just teenage crap. But then he stopped calling me Dad. It was Tom now, spat out like it was just a name. One night at dinner, he looked up from his phone and said, "Tom, can you pass the salt?" Sarah didn't blink, but it felt like a knife in my ribs. I let it slide, but it kept happening. "Tom, can you drive me to the mall?" "Tom, my phone's acting up, can you fix it?" Each time, chipped away at me. The demands got worse. Ethan wanted $200 sneakers, a new gaming console, AirPods like his friends had. If I said no, he'd roll his eyes and mutter, "Figures." Sarah would step in, her voice soft. "He's just a kid, Tom. He's figuring things out." But figuring things out cost me hundreds a month on top of the house, the car insurance, the braces, the phone bill. In return, I got silence, eye rolls, and a kid who acted like I was his landlord, not his father. I started keeping a mental tally of it all, the weight of it pressing harder each day. The tension built like rust on an old engine, slow but relentless. I tried to bridge the gap, took Ethan fishing, offered to teach him how to change a tire. He'd shrug, say he was busy, then sneak out to hang with his buddies. One night, I caught him climbing out his window, backpack slung over his shoulder. "Where you going?" I asked, blocking the door. He smirked. "Out. You're not my cop, Tom." I kept my voice steady. "You live in my house, Ethan. You follow my rules." He laughed, sharp and mean. "Your house? Whatever." That was the first time I felt something break inside me. The breaking point came when Ethan was 16. I'd planned a camping trip for the three of us, something to bring us back together. I spent weeks preparing, bought a new tent, packed fishing gear, even got Ethan's favorite snacks. I wanted it to be like the old days, when we'd build stuff together and he'd look at me like I was his hero. We drove out to a lake in the Adirondacks, set up camp under a sky full of stars. I was hammering in the last tent stake when Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at me. "My friends are at a party nearby. I'm going." I straightened up, wiping sweat from my brow. "Ethan, this is our trip. We're here as a family." He scoffed, grabbing his backpack. "You're not my family, Tom. Stop acting like you are." Sarah froze, her hands pausing over the cooler. I waited for her to say something, anything, to back me up. She didn't. She just looked at Ethan, then at me, and said, "Maybe let him go, Tom. He's just blowing off steam." That was the moment I knew I'd been fighting a losing battle. I didn't argue. I just nodded, gave Ethan that long look, and said, "Fine, have it your way." He walked off into the dark, leaving the campfire to burn without him. The next morning, I packed up the tent in silence. Sarah tried to smooth things over. "He didn't mean it, Tom. He's just a teenager." But I was done listening. Her words felt like excuses, and I was tired of being the one who had to understand. When we got home, I sat down with my bank app and stared at Ethan's college fund. Every dollar I'd saved for him felt like a brick I'd carried for years, only to have it thrown back in my face. I transferred the $18,000 to my retirement account. Then I called a lawyer and started divorce papers. Sarah was stunned when I told her. "Tom, you can't do this," she said, tears streaming down her face. "What about Ethan? He needs you. We need you." I shook my head, my voice calm but cold. "No, Sarah. Ethan needs a bank. And you need someone to clean up your messes. That's not me anymore." Ethan overheard, storming into the room, his face red. "You're abandoning us? We're supposed to be family." I looked him in the eyes. "Family? You said I'm not your family, Ethan. You made that clear. Go find your real dad if that's what you want." He didn't have a comeback. For once, he just stood there, silent. I moved out the next week, sold the house, and threw myself into the garage. Jake and I took on bigger jobs restoring vintage Mustangs, rebuilding engines for local racers. I bought a small cabin near Lake Ontario, where the only sounds were the waves and the wind. No arguments, no slammed doors, just quiet. It wasn't joy, but it was peace. For years later, there was a knock at my cabin door. I opened it to find Sarah and Ethan. She looked worn, her hair graying, clutching a purse like it was her lifeline. Ethan was taller, but his eyes were tired. His shoulders slumped like the world had ground him down. Sarah spoke first, her voice shaky. "Tom, we're in trouble. The apartment's gone. The car's repossessed. Ethan dropped out of community college. I remarried, but it didn't work out. We need help." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "What do you expect me to do, Sarah? Fix it all again?" My eyes shifted to Ethan. He wouldn't meet my gaze. I saw the kid who'd clutched that Spider-Man toy, who'd called me dad when I bandaged his knee. Then I saw the teenager who'd walked away from our campfire, who'd said I wasn't his family. You were right, Ethan, I said, my voice steady. I'm not your family. He flinched, his lips trembling, but he didn't speak. I closed the door, the sound sharp in the quiet morning. A week later, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Tom, please, he's still your son. I didn't reply. Then Jake called, chuckling. You're viral, man. Sarah's blasting you online. I checked, and there it was, a Facebook post with a photo of Ethan at 10, grinning as we worked on a birdhouse together. The caption read, he raised my son for years, then turned his back when we needed him. The comments were brutal. Some called me a monster. Others asked questions Sarah dodged. I didn't owe anyone an explanation, but I gave one anyway. I posted a video, calm and clear, laying it all out. The years I'd spent raising Ethan, the college fund I'd built, the camping trip where he said I wasn't family, Sarah's silence when I needed her support. I showed receipts, bank statements, texts from Ethan demanding new phones, $150 sneakers, a gaming rig. The video blew up. Thousands of comments called out their entitlement, their betrayal. Sarah deleted her post, but the damage was done. Word got around town. Sarah lost her job at the dental office. Ethan was working at a gas station, drowning in debt from a semester at community college he didn't finish. Jake saw him once, said he looked like a shadow of the kid we knew. I didn't gloat. I just felt empty. The final chapter came at a local car show, where I was showcasing a restored 1967 Chevy Impala. Sarah showed up with Ethan, her face desperate, his eyes downcast. The crowd hushed as she marched toward me. Tom, you owe us, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You walked away from your family. I didn't flinch. Family? I said, my voice carrying. I gave you a home, Sarah. I gave Ethan a father. You both threw it away. I turned to the crowd. He said I wasn't his family. She let him. So I left. That's what they wanted. Sarah's face crumpled. Ethan's head snapped up, his eyes wet with something, guilt, maybe regret. Tom, he's struggling. Sarah pleaded. He needs you. I stepped closer, my voice low. He needed me when he was 9, Sarah. When he called me dad. You let him forget that. You don't get to rewrite it now. I looked at Ethan. You made your choice. Live with it. The crowd was silent as I walked away, leaving them standing there, their own words hanging heavy. Months later, I saw Ethan one last time, by chance, outside a diner across from the garage. He was bussing tables, his apron stained, his face etched with exhaustion. Our eyes met through the window, and for a moment, time stopped. I saw the kid who'd laughed as we built birdhouses, who'd called me dad. Then I saw the teenager who'd walked away from our campfire. He froze, tray in hand, like he wanted to say something, maybe sorry, maybe please. I waited, heart pounding, for him to cross the street, to say anything. He didn't. He just stood there, trapped behind that glass. I gave him a nod, short and final, and walked away. He was right all those years ago. I wasn't his family. I was the man who tried to be, and he chose to reject that. I never looked back. A year passed, and life settled into a rhythm of quiet purpose. I'd wake to the lake's gentle waves, work long hours at the garage, and end my days with a beer on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. One evening, a letter arrived, handwritten, from Ethan. Tom. It read. I was wrong. I didn't know what I had until it was gone. I'm sorry. I held the paper, my hand steady, and stared at the words. They were heavy, sincere, but too late. I folded the letter, tucked it into a drawer, and stepped outside to the lake's edge. The past was done, and I'd built a life without it.